Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Jupiter's CROCK. My name is Matthew. Joining me today in Memphis, hopefully safe and sound, is Ronan.
Yeah, everything was really nice and pretty calm. Yeah, it was
Good.
like for
Good.
Memphis.
Well, we're not going any further than that.
Oh.
And Steve, also known as Spartacus.
Yep, I am here.
So, last week, guys, we left off with Titus showing up, deciding he's going to stay at the Ludus, I think. No, wait, that's this episode. Wait, was it? I'm confused.
No,
Steve, take it away.
The end of last episode is Batiatus expecting Titus to leave, and Titus informs him that, no, I remembered how much I enjoyed this. I'm sticking around. So you were correct.
And then we get that evil look on Batiatus' face when he turns towards the camera and those eyes. He's just like, we think, okay, Batiatus is going to do something here. That's where that last shot setup is. But Beneath the Mask, episode 4, take it away.
So we open. I don't know what the time skip is between the end of episode 3 and the beginning of episode 4 here, but the start of this episode ends with different games, an indeterminate amount of time later. Asher and Dagon are about to have their first match, and Onomaus tells them, look, you've got the mark of the Brotherhood, but we all know that you didn't go through the actual official test, so consider this your test. Like, if you win, we'll welcome you as brothers. If not, well, hey, we were right about you. You both kind of suck. And of course, Asher is translating for Dagon and maybe embellishing a little bit of what Onomaus is saying to them, and what
Asher.
Dagon is saying back. This is, man, Asher is a piece of dog shit, and this episode really drives that home. But anyways, they go out and they fight, and Asher just immediately gets his ass kicked. Dagon kills the person that it's a 2-on-2 match, and Dagon, a tornado tag. Dagon kills his opponent, and then has to go and rescue Asher. And Asher, even though he did nothing, and Dagon essentially won a 2-on-1 fight, Asher stands up and starts gloating, like, yeah, I'm a fucking badass. I'm Asher. These are just the first men to fall by the blade of Asher. Beefcake. And so they win. So presumably, according to Onomaus, they're going to be welcomed as gladiators, and we're going to see that really only applies to one of them. And while this is happening, I think Ronan mentioned this last episode, Batiatus and Titus are down like with the people watching the event, and this is where Batiatus says we should be up there in the Pulvinus where the important people are, and Titus says no, like, this is where I want to be. Like, I like being among the people. I am a Lanista. This is where I belong.
And we find out later on that the people of Capua love Titus.
Yes, he's a well-revered person among Capua. But this is where we see the conversation, the beginning of Titus saying, I'm happy being a Lanista. I wanted you to be happy being a Lanista, but clearly you didn't want this life. You wanted to be more. And things didn't work out that way. But Batiatus, tries to counter and talk about, hey, you made me a Lanista. I'm doing my best here, and then you came back here to kind of fuck it up. Like they started to bond a little bit, and then they ended the conversation like at odds as they always are. Anyways, guess who's up to her normal schemes? Gaia and Xena are out and about on town, and and Gaia, again, at this point, even though like she is this like incredibly beautiful woman, and like she's well known around Rome for being this flamboyant woman, she's broke. She's still essentially couch surfing at Batiatus' Ludus, and so she sees like a well-off Roman man named Petronius, I believe, and she's gonna go like try to charm Petronius to get him to wife her up so that she can have access to another powerful Roman man's bank account. So she goes and starts chatting up Petronius, but as soon as she mentions Lucretia, Xena, Petronius stops the conversation. Is like, hey, you're
He
Xena,
gets fully
right?
erect.
Yes. I've heard about the pleasures of House Batiatus, and Xena, you can see the look on her face. She's like, oh fuck, I'm gonna have to do this again. Uh,
Well, the audience is like, "Oh fuck, I'm gonna have to see some of this again."
Yeah, yeah.
There's gonna
That's
be some
very,
Diona
very
level
accurate.
shit.
We as the audience know this is going to go very, very badly.
Yep. So we'll come back to this in a little bit, but long story short, Petronius wants to have his own pleasure night at the House of Batiatus. Meanwhile, Asher and Dagon get back to the Ludus where they're victorious, and like the other gladiators are like they're just doing this like half-assed like golf clap. Like they do not care that these two people with the fake mark of the Brotherhood have won a fight.
Now, I
Um,
got a quick question for you.
sure.
Do you? I can understand Asher, like the other gladiators, not really coming around to Asher because he's just a weasel. He's an asshole. They can see when he's trying to like cheat and take advantage of like not be professional about various things. But why did they act that way towards Dagon? Because I felt like after him killing two people in the arena, like May and Anameus saying this is your test, that he would have been more sort of like welcomed
Yeah,
by
I
the
agree.
other.
I 100% agree. And I think to some extent, people do start to warm up to him a little bit, but I think because of the language barrier, they have to continue to kind of see Asher and Dagon as a package deal. I also just don't know like how many of the gladiators actually know the story of what happened other than just these two won. Like I
Yeah,
don't
yeah. Like I was about to say
how
that
well
they
does word
literally just
travel?
got back. Yeah, they
and,
literally
and
just
maybe
got back.
Asher's just like, hey, I did it all, or
Yeah,
something.
could be. Yeah,
And that's the thing. Like, it's Anameus, right? Who says, look, hey Asher, if you couldn't speak the language, you'd be in the mines right now. Like they establish that Asher's only there to translate for Dagon.
yes, 100%.
Um,
Speaking of Asher translating things, Anameus is going around like paying people because, as we mentioned last episode, like you actually make money by being a gladiator, and you can if you save it up, you can buy your freedom after a while. But of course, most of the gladiators don't save it up; they spend it on women. Um, but
Wine and
anime,
whores, Steve. Wine and
yes,
whores.
Anameus is handing out coins and gives Asher half of what Dagon gets. And Dagon is like, oh, I'm going to get so many. He doesn't use the word women, but I'm going to translate. He's going to get so many women with this coin. And Asher pretends that what he said is, hey, this isn't fair. We were both, in the arena. And Anameus is like, Dagon gets twice the coin because he's twice the man. And that's where I think Anameus says, if you couldn't translate, you wouldn't be here.
yeah,
So I think
because
Dagon,
Anameus saw it. He
yeah,
saw Asher, he lost his match
yeah.
essentially.
I think at this point, Dagon, whatever his name is, like is kind
It's
of
Dagon.
he's rising. He's being seen in a better light, but he's still joined at the hip to Asher, which is holding him down.
Yeah, I would have liked to have seen a scene or something of the other gladiators sort of welcoming him more to really show that divide between him and
Yeah,
Asher.
agreed. That would
You
have been
get a
great.
little tidbit of that later on in this episode, like where you can sort of see like yeah, the gladiators, they do recognize okay, yeah, like I know we gave him some shit, but this guy, yeah, he's one of us because what happens at the part, well, that happens at the party, but like there is a moment where the gladiators turn and they stare down Asher.
Yeah. So after Anameus makes the rounds and pays the gladiators, there's a brief scene because Gannicus is just being an asshat at this point. Like he doesn't want to train, he doesn't want to listen to anyone. Like all he can think about is Melita, and Titus does not think Gannicus is nearly as good as Batiatus says, so he calls Gannicus up. They have a talk, and Gannicus reiterates, I fight for the honor of House Batiatus. Batiatus is like, yeah, see, told you. And Titus is like, no, I see right through this bullshit. He's just telling us what he wants to hear. Um, Gnaeus, again, a guy who he lost a fight to Barca last episode. He completely sucks with a sword and shield, which is like kind of like the default gladiator style. They're going to train him. I cannot get the names of these fighting styles correct, but basically he's going to get a net and a net and a trident. So he's got to like throw a net on
It's
people
like
to like catch.
Mermilio, or I think, or something like
I
that.
Mermillo
think
is the heavyweight. Mermillo
like
is what like Gannicus and Spartacus are. Those are Mermillos.
it's like Rotarius, something
Okay,
like that.
I'll look that up while
All right.
you're talking.
I'm just gonna call it net and trident to make it simple. They tell Naeus, "Hey, you suck with a sword and shield. We're gonna give you a net and a trident to fight with." And
Retiarius. Yep.
Retiarius, thank you. Naeus does not want it. He's like, fuck this noise. This is stupid. And then Onomaeus, for the first time as Doctore, asserts his dominance and whips Naeus. And Naeus is like, all right, I guess I'm using a net and trident now, and goes off to retreat.
That's just the proper response to taking a whip.
He's like, oh shit.
That fucking hurts.
So we're gonna see how Naeus's story plans out over the next couple episodes. Meanwhile, it's time to address another pleasure night at the House of Batiatus.
3 in a row, baby. We're 3 in a row.
So Xena and Gaia tell Batiatus, hey, another rich Roman fuck wants to come and have fun with our slaves and gladiators, and we have to do this in order to, we lost our standing in the previous games where Gannicus was supposed to be. Petronius, like, he can get us into the actual arena, the new arena being built. So we've got to do it. But of course, Titus has no idea that either of the two previous pleasure nights have happened. And so Batiatus is like, well, my dad's not going to allow this. My dad wants to play by the rules. So I've got to get my dad out of town. And so he hatches the scheme for Batiatus and his dad to go out of town to look at potential new slaves to recruit as gladiators. So it's left to Gaia and Xena and Salonius to pull off a
Good
pleasure
Salonius,
night
Steve.
part 3.
Come on, Steve, you're failing. A good Salonius.
He's starting the beginning of no longer being good Salonius. But so it's not just enough for Petronius to have a pleasure night. He wants to involve all of his friends, and so it is.
Come on, homies, they're coming over.
Yeah, he invites like all of his Roman buddies, Xena and Gaia, and moderately good Salonius. They bring out all of the slaves and all of the gladiators. Xena,
Good Salonius doesn't even want to be there.
No,
They basically bring good Salonius there. 'Cause, again, he's still good at this point, I think. He's not bad. He's not bad until, or he doesn't sort of turn until Batiatus gets in his face about some stuff that we'll discuss. But at this point,
he's been building the whole show.
He's like the DD, right? Like the designated driver guy, where he's just like, okay, because they establish he doesn't have a wife, he doesn't drink, he doesn't have sex, he doesn't do any of that. He's just kind of like this very like neutral milk toast like friend. He's just a friend to observe. And at a certain point when we talk about what happens, he was like, oh my god, if I'd only just stayed a little bit longer, I could have helped you guys. But he's just there to kind of like be a if any shit starts going
to be
bad,
a male presence, because Xena and Gaia both say to Batiatus is like, if these rich Roman people get out of control, we're women, they're not going to listen to us. And Batiatus is like, oh, invite good Salonius over, man of respect and danger. He will get everyone in line.
Man, everyone, all the higher ups, everyone is like, oh, he has no spine. This guy's a pussy. Fuck him.
Well, he's a Roman, right? Basically, I mean, he's a Roman citizen, I should say, because these people aren't from Rome necessarily. A good Salonius and Batiatus, but they're Roman citizens. So if you have another Roman male citizen there, there's a level of protection there, because another Roman male citizen who's going wild and crazy is maybe going to do that less so if there's another like non-fucked up Roman male there that can sort of witness what's happening. So it's a layer of protection for Xena and Gaia.
We need Rachel here right now.
No, we don't. Let's not involve Rachel with this.
Wonder if she's seen this show.
She has. You, myself, and Rachel on a website that shall not be named, in a previous podcast that shall not be named, talked about Spartacus.
Did she see Gods of the Arena though?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'll have to ask her.
I don't know. Anyways, this is the first pleasure night where it's like all hands on deck. Like previously, it was like 3 people in a room. So like the creepy Roman and then the gladiator and the slave. everyone is out for this, and so Xena has to start swearing people to secrecy. Like because Xena is worried about Onomaus, because Onomaus, we talked about last time, there seem to be a lot of slaves and gladiators that actually like enjoy their life to some extent. Xena knows that Onomaus is going to tell Titus about this, and so
Because they're friends. They're
yes,
Yeah.
really good friends.
yes. Xena blackmails Melita and says, "Hey, you need to keep Onomaus in line here, because if you don't, I will tell him about you and Gannicus." Speaking of which, Melita
You and
and
Gannicus.
Gannicus continue. They continue to trade glances. I think I think is it the beginning. I don't know. Gannicus finds excuses to run into her, and he keeps making things awkward between the two of them. But that's going to pay off more in the next couple episodes. Just know
We
that
should also
that
point
is an
out
ongoing thing. Go ahead.
we should also point out one thing about Gannicus, and you touched on this, I think, on the last episode. He starts by not losing battles, but even in training fights, he's so distracted by Melita that people like Crixus and I think Barca at one point does something to him or something. Like he's not in fighting shape, so to speak. He's got it as a super amazing gladiator. You got to be completely focused so you don't get murdered in the arena. But his mind is elsewhere, shall we say?
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, I
So let
think we
me.
overlooked that. There was like a practice fight in the last episode, and we just
Yeah,
where Crixus and Gannicus fought each other, and we just completely overlooked that.
yeah, because that's because Crixus is sort of gauging his talents against Gannicus, right?
Yes.
And so Crixus by this point really feels like he can beat Gannicus one on one now.
He
Um,
can't, but he thinks that.
he thinks that. He thinks
Yeah.
that.
All right, so before we get back to Pleasure Night, let's finish off the Batiatus and Titus plotline. They go to look at potential new gladiator recruits, and the recruits are shitty. And Titus calls Batiatus out on this. He's like, "Hey, look, I am not a fool. Like, I know that you knew that all of these potential gladiators were shit. So like, I know that you have ulterior motives to bring me here." And Batiatus thinks he's caught, because Batiatus thinks, "Oh shit, my dad knows that I wanted to get him away from my house tonight for some reason." Then Batiatus is kind of saved, because Titus thinks, "Oh, you just wanted to have some father son time because our relationship is so fraught." And Batiatus is like, yep, that must be it." So
Thanks, Dad.
yeah, so Titus kind of calls Batiatus on it, and he's like, I appreciate the gesture, because I know we've been at odds. Let's let's start rebuilding our relationship, but let's do it at home. Like, there's no reason for us to be here. Let's just go home. We can sleep in our own beds. And Batiatus is unable to find an excuse to convince his dad to stay away from the Ludus for the night. So just know that while the night of pleasure is happening, Batiatus and Dad are on their way home.
Well, the thing I
So
love most about this show, honestly, is that all of the drama, like great drama, comes from setting up things that you feel as a viewer, how the hell are they going to get out of this situation? Where it's like it's a lose-lose situation with all the gladiators, with Xena, with Batiatus and his dad. It's like there's no possible way these characters can get out of this, but I know they do, at least some of them. How is it going to happen? And this is another one I'm sitting here like, how the fuck are they going to try to get out of this one?
yeah, and I mean,
Spoilers.
to an extent, he doesn't.
Yes.
All right, so back to the night of pleasure. So there's a lot of shit going on, so I'm gonna summarize as best I can. There's like 100 Romans there. All of the gladiators have been brought up to the floor. All of the female slaves have been like painted and are wearing next to nothing. They're all there except for Navia.
A lot of
Uh,
naked
the,
dudes running around.
yeah,
We should point
there's
out
a lot of
Yeah,
naked
that's true.
everything.
this
Whatever.
show is not just naked women. There's a lot of fully naked dudes wandering around.
Yeah, suck it. Don't fuck in the woods. Whatever you like seeing, you will see that part in Gods of the Arena. But anyways,
Even Crixus is fully nude
yep,
running around
yep.
in this show.
So all right, so the big things that happen. There's like hundreds of people, both gladiators, Roman slaves, etc. Diona once again is being forced to fuck a gladiator in front of now in front of a giant crowd. Like she's just like on display. Um, the Romans have like their pick of whoever they want to have fun with, and one Roman goes up to Dagon, and this guy is like, "Hey, Dagon, I want to fuck you," but he's not like he asks him, not that it makes it any better, but he doesn't just grab Dagon's hand and take him to the room. He asks him,
Ask
and
him
then
nicely.
Where does your pleasure lie?
yep. And then so Asher says, "Oh, sorry, he doesn't understand you," and so he translates, and Dagon has no idea what's going on. But Asher tells the Roman that, "Oh yeah, Dagon would love to be fucked with you, and please don't be gentle. He likes it rough." Completely
Large beasts like him.
completely fucks
Asher.
over his friend. So Asher basically serves up Dagon to this Roman guy, and Dagon. This is the end of the friendship between Dagon and Asher.
Well, that was the moment I was talking about with the gladiators that are next to him. They turn and they shoot Asher the Glare because they realize you just sold him up. You didn't do anything to try and help him out. There's no fuck you.
But for all they know, Asher was translating correctly. Maybe Dagon was into it. Of course, that's not the case. Anyways, yeah, this is the start of the end of the friendship between Asher and Dagon. What else happens?
I would never do this to you guys if I was in this situation. Just letting you know, I would never do that to either one of you.
True friendship right there.
Well, maybe Ronan, depending on the day.
Yeah.
That's true friendship. I would never sell your literal ass to a Roman for just a good time. I would never do that.
Anyways, Tullius shows up.
Continuing to make Steve very
and
uncomfortable.
Xena and Gaia and good Salonius all shit themselves because they have no idea why Tullius is there. Good Salonius tries to speak to Tullius to try to figure out what's going on, and Tullius tells him, "Hey, look, you told me of Batiatus's plans, and you contacted Titus because you wanted to gain favor with me. Don't pretend like you actually care about what's going on. You're doing this for yourself. Walk away with your tail between your legs, or whatever goodwill that you have built towards me is gone." And so good Salonius just abandons it. And so Tullius puts him in his place. Gaia sorry, let's back up a second. Before Gaia gets involved with Tullius, Tullius is obsessed with Gannicus. It's I don't know that it's clear. I think early on it just seems like, well, Gannicus is obviously a good gladiator, and so Tullius wants to buy him. At this point, Tullius is obsessed with Gannicus. He wants Gannicus however he can have him, and at this point he's like, "Hey, let's have a spar." I used to be a Roman soldier.
I think he believes Gannicus is his because Batiatus bought it, right? He's like, I bought him from Tullius, right?
Not yet, but he does do that.
See, no, but I early on when Gannicus first. Oh yeah, maybe I'm thinking of somebody. No, that was Crixus. Never mind.
Yeah, I was
getting
gonna say,
gladiators mixed up.
Crixus is the gladiator that Batiatus bought.
Maybe he just sees Gannicus. He's like, he knows Gannicus is awesome and amazing and will be the next champion.
Regardless, he is obsessed with Gannicus, and you'll see this in the next couple episodes. Everything that he does towards Batiatus is to get Gannicus. And if at any point, and I think Titus knows this, if at any point Batiatus actually hands over Gannicus, that's the end of their rivalry. Tullius just wants Gannicus, but at this point, because Gannicus still belongs to Tullius, he decides, well, I guess humiliating Gannicus is the best I can do. And so he's like, "Hey, let's have a sparring match." And so Tullius fights Gannicus in the middle of this night of pleasure. But Oenomaus tells Gannicus, "Hey, lose this fight. There's no good can come from you winning this fight and either killing or embarrassing Tullius." And so Gannicus has to let Tullius beat him. There are so many times where Gannicus is he can make the killing blow, and you see him look up and he's like, "Fuck," and he just stands there and lets Tullius retaliate against him,
slicing him up too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Gannicus is getting sliced all over the place. He gets knocked down, and he puts up the two fingers, the missio, the sign of surrender, and so Tullius wins the day. Ha ha ha.
He was gonna kill him though. Until Lucretia told him to stop.
100% gonna kill him. And then Lucretia / Xena brings out the masks, And he's like, put this mask on, and you are no longer a proper Roman restrained by morality. You can do whatever you want. And so everyone puts on their masks and goes
Going
to
full
fuck whoever
Caligula
they want
now.
to fuck. Meanwhile, Gaia's like, all right, good Salonius couldn't do anything to figure out what's going on with Tullius, so I will go and fuck Tullius and get some information out of him. And so while Tullius and Gaia are fucking, Gaia tries to persuade Tullius to ease up on the House of Batiatus because they are actually, like, she and Xena are actually friends. And so Tullius and Gaia fuck, and Tullius says, I'll give you my answer to give to Xena. So the night ends. The night of pleasure is over. Everyone is gone. The House of Batiatus' position in the opening games of the arena is secured, and Tullius confronts Xena, and it's very like Xena doesn't know what's going to happen because
Well, it's
good.
great. It's a great sequence because she's scared, and Lucy
Yes.
Lawless is terrified because Good Salonius has left, and he's
Yep.
like, "You sure?" He's like, "I'll stick around until everybody's gone." And she's
He
like, "Ah,
didn't
no."
leave. But before he left, he starts to show interest in Xena, which is why I think this is one of his the start of him kind of becoming bad Salonius, because he starts kind of low key hitting on Xena.
Really? I didn't
Yeah.
catch that.
No, he does. Yeah, he does that in the first season of the show too.
Huh.
Yeah, he's
Oh
like,
yeah, because he does kind of like have a thing
yeah,
for her
he
in this.
wants
That's right.
he wants to stay uh until either Batiatus gets back or the sun comes up. But Xena's like, no, it's fine. Everyone's gone. She doesn't know that Tullius is still back here, I guess. And so good Salonius is like, all right, well, I'll leave. But he's like, the the light of House Batiatus would be paler without you, or some ridiculous pickup line. And then Xena's kind of like, okay, thank you, bye.
Yeah. What?
Anyways, Tullius comes out, confronts Xena. Xena is just scared shitless of Tullius. But then Tullius says, Gaia came to me and asked, for me to show favor towards House of Batiatus. Go find Gaia because she has my answer. And so Xena walks off, and Gaia has been bludgeoned to death. So Tullius kills Gaia. That is his answer to the question of will he start showing favor to the House of Batiatus. Batiatus and Titus come back, and Titus is like, "What the fuck did you do to my Ludus? Clean this shit up. Throw Gaia off the cliff. We'll tell people that she got
Well,
drunk
that's not
and
till the
slipped."
next episode, right?
Yeah, you're getting a
Is
bit
it?
ahead. It
Okay,
ends
Yeah.
sorry.
with her
I
Yeah.
watched all. Yeah, you're right. Sorry, I watched these back to back. So the actual end of this episode is Xena finds Gaia's dead body.
Dead body. Yeah. I love this episode. I think this episode is so good, just in terms of like all the various characters. Like Asher, he's just getting more and more despicable as it goes. So it's really setting up Asher's character
Are
more and
you
more.
He's so
sure
great
that
at it too.
are you sure that the scene with yeah, whatever. If we don't talk about it now, we'll
Yeah,
talk about it.
because she finds it and it ends with Xena screaming, and
It
then it
ends
goes to
on the
credits.
close up of her face with
Yeah,
the bludgeoning.
All right.
yeah,
Yeah, the
yeah,
the pitfalls of watching these back to back to back. All
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
but
So yeah, I love this whole. I love that Gannicus has to be okay with losing because you can tell, and there's great acting all around in this show. But I think Dustin Clare, just the look on his face, how he wants to kill this guy so bad and he can't. I don't know if it was the next episode. I think it might be the next episode where he comes to Batiatus and he's like, "Hey, just send me over to that guy's Ludus. I'll find a time to fucking kill him."
yep, yep,
But yeah, this episode, awesome. I just absolutely love this episode to death.
yep. Pretty fantastic. I'm not exactly sad that Gaia, the true villain of the series, is gone after this episode.
Were you
Uh,
expecting her to die?
I mean, not now because I've seen this before, but I guess when I first watched this prequel series, like, this is the kind of the issue between me and the prequels. Like, I know that any character that didn't show up in the main series either dies or they just leave and are irrelevant. So I was expecting her to either die or just, at the end, like, oh well, look at the time, I've got to leave Rome, because she's not
Found
in
a new
season
man.
one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
found a new man. We also should mention that Gaia and Tullius, they've established that they had a relationship in the past when they were younger. I don't know if they were boyfriend girlfriend back then, or if they were just having
It
an
seems
affair or
like
something. But they
Tullius
knew
was
each
like
other
always
from the
pining
past.
for her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Tolia says that when he was younger, he always thought about it, but like he got it tonight and was like, I'm not impressed. What happens happens.
Well, Ronan, what are your thoughts on this episode?
Well, it's another banger episode. Makes me like as I'm thinking about it now, I'm like, are there bad episodes of like this whole series? And it's like, not really. But like, so yeah, this is another good banger episode. Anytime there's a pleasure night episode, either in this or in blood, like
I never want to see another Pleasure Night episode, but I
those,
know we
Well, I'll
are.
watch one with Alithia. That's fine with me. Go ahead.
yeah. There's always. And it's like there's always going to be another pleasure night episode. Not in this particular series, spoilers, but in the next series. Like season 1, they make their triumphant return.
I think
Like
they end
extra.
in season 1. I don't know if we get pleasure nights in in the final 2 seasons.
No,
Although maybe
we do because Pleasure Nights become let's have sex and torture captured gladiators.
Oh, okay. Well, thank you for. I guess I blocked that out of my mind. But yeah, this is a cool episode, and this is the kind of episode that makes you immediately want to jump into the next one. It's that
And we
classic.
did.
Yeah, that classic television trope of it ends on a cliffhanger. This main character we've been following this whole time is dead at the enemy of this. Like, how the fuck are they gonna get out of this? And this whole time, like, if I remember back to when I first started watching it, I'm still thinking, like, how does Gannicus get out of all of this? Because obviously we know what ends up happening to him, and I won't spoil it yet. But at the time when I was watching this, they don't really. Well, I'll save that to the final episode. So,
Does it feel weird that the last like this episode and the last episode, Gannicus doesn't do a whole lot. Like he's kind of there in the background pining for Melita, but even though he is ostensibly like the star of the series, like the prequel, season 1 is the story of Spartacus, the prequel series is the story of Gannicus. He doesn't do a whole lot, like right in the middle of the series.
I disagree. I think this is not the story of Gannicus. I think it's the story of Batiatus and Lucretia.
Well, Gannicus is on the DVD cover, so it is the story of Gannicus.
He's a strong, muscled man, but I definitely think that this is really the story of how Batiatus and Lucretia came to be. Because as we see in the next episode, we'll save it, but the next episode, this might be one of my favorites, but we'll save it to then. So stay tuned next week, next Thursday. We drop these every Thursday here on Outpost Unknown. Stay tuned for episode 5 of Gods of the Arena called Reckoning. And yes, we have a reckoning coming.